Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and we are going to talk about Jeffrey Sachs, economist, someone who is a high-level academic. He's in the professor world, but he's often used in the mainstream media. And I first became familiar with Mr. Sachs when he blew the whistle on the covert CIA involvement of the destabilization of Syria, right, onto this mantra of we had to remove Assad, we've got to get Assad, all the way back in the Operation Timber Sycamore days. And there's a lot of parallels between that, okay, and what is going on right now in the Ukraine. Now, he said something recently that I can't say. I'm not allowed to say it. I might not. I'm going to flash the article up here because there are narratives to things, and certain people are allowed to say certain things that I'm not. Like, for instance, we're talking about Tucker here also because aside from this headline that is behind me, all right, and Sachs gets smeared as a Xi Jinping propagandist in one of the only publications that even dares to publish this story about Sachs, okay? And we're not going to be able to play this on YouTube. You're going to have to come to Rumble or Rockfin at the end of this video for this and the Tucker Carlson segment we can't play, all right? But let's just say that this is about Americana. So there have been a couple of narratives. There's the leaky narrative, okay, that's supposedly from the right-wing media and the alternative media and the conspiracy theorists. It's that, or it's the natural narrative. Okay, that's it. It's just leaky, natural. You are not allowed to say that it was purposely bio-distributed to different regions. That is not allowed to be said anywhere. And when we get to this Tuckster, okay, and again, we can't play it here. We're going to play it on the flip side. This is published over at Fox News, okay? And up until 19 minutes and 18 seconds of his lead segment. Okay, now he's supposed to be putting all of his lead segments out. What they don't tell you is that right here at the end, when he starts talking about time for answers and this 2020 February interview with this gentleman, is that the best is saved for last. When he brings him back on the show, they don't post that on the internet. And at the very end of the interview, he breaks that wall. He doesn't go with leaky. He goes with purposely distributed. Okay? That's a big deal. And alls I can say is that when you look at a ton of the evidence that is never touched by these people, for instance, the man who discovered HIV, Luc Montagnier, talking about what? Oh, lab creation. The mRNA partnership with DARPA back in 2013. Okay, think about that. And it was beyond just what you're seeing right there. It was also to fight what? Pandemics. But what the real seal is, okay, see that? It was pandemics, biological attacks, and natural pathogens. And by the way, we have to go to the web archive for the vast majority of this stuff as it's been pulled down. It's part of the mRNA strategic collaborators with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Defense Department, okay, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, and of course Moderna. AstraZeneca is there as well. This is the Moderna page. These are things that don't get on the mainstream ever. And once again, you know, you look at this thing and within 2.5 years of that partnership, you have a cancer drug that what? Has this sequence match of DNA. You can't bring up things like Event 201, which takes place in October of 2019. And again, it's always natural. It's always natural. Let me say it again. It's always natural. Every time. And it's a pig in South America that globally spreads. You understand? Now, I'm going to comment more on that and even the predictive programming. In fact, maybe we'll play that before the Jeffrey Sachs clip, because we're going to be able to play two of these things before we go exclusively to Rumble and Rockfin. Okay? Because we got to be careful. There's certain things, again, you can't talk about on this channel. So this is Earth 2100. And remember, human beings are terrible. They are terrible, terrible people. Okay? Awful. We're awful. Well, we're going to get to this Morning Joe clip where, again, Sachs is just too damn honest talking about CIA involvement. But this is an ABC propaganda piece that says that climate change is going to do things like this. And then and guess who's in it? Other than, John Podesta, Eric Schmidt from Google, James Woolsey of the CIA, Van Jones, the $10 million Bezos man, our friend Anthony Fauci. He's in it. Okay? Now, watch how it starts.
In my life, I've seen New York City under full quarantine.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait, New York City under full quarantine? Wow, that's pretty wild. This is, I believe, 2008 or 2009, by the way.
The Midwest overrun, devastated by pests, plagues.
Oh, wow, people in blue masks. Wow, in California.
Sweep across California, and then...
I realize that looks terrible right now, but I assure you it's a family. This is the Earth 2100. It's a race against time. What will happen next? Let's play it again. And
in my life, I've seen New York City under full quarantine. The Midwest overrun, devastated by pests. Plagues sweep across California. And
oh, look at that. Just everybody in a mask in California. Plague sweep across California.
And then, what happened next was something none of us saw coming. It became a race against time.
It's a race against time to save our future. And this is truncated into what they want you to believe. We're destroying the planet. And what we're going to pick up here, and by the way, they have refugee camps, people in the masks, the whole nine. Might as well be something out of the World Economic Forum. What I want everybody to see is right here at 1:02. Okay, let's listen to our boy, Anthony Fauci.
But in the low-lying slums, tap water was contaminated. People were so poor they ate only once a day. If they ate at all.
When people are hungry and people are malnourished, as you continue to have displacement with floods, there's no doubt that's a perfect setup for certain types of infections.
Displacement through floods, it's climate change. This whole thing is about climate change.
I was working the late shift when the first case came in. A young man with a cough and a high fever, and then I noticed the blisters all over his body. Was this the virus I had seen years ago?
Another case of Caspian fever.
Health officials have issued a statement asking people to avoid public meetings. All New York City schools have been shut down. Representatives from the CDC.
This virus is cause for concern.
Within a week, over 20 were dead. People on the streets wore masks, avoided each other. The air was ripe with panic.
Advisory reminding citizens to wash their hands and cover their mouths.
Seem weird? Seem weird? This came out in 2008-9. No one else covered this, by the way. I did a whole watch along with the whole thing. You can watch that over at Rockfin. Maybe we'll put that over on Rumble as well, that watch along. I think it's an important one.
You would shut down factories, you would shut down trade, you would shut down commerce. Everything would shut down.
See that? Everything would shut down.
Death toll from Caspian fever has now reached 107.
The virus continued to mutate and spread.
So some long incubating virus that kills very fast. That's the kind of thing that's going to get us.
It only took a few people on a few planes to spread it around the world.
Cases of the fever have been confirmed in over 100 countries.
Now estimated that 10,000 have died in Mexico City.
Temporary morgues have been set up in the streets of
The
Shanghai.
Vatican conducted a national funeral mass today.
From Singapore to Sydney, the globe shut down. Farmers wouldn't bring food into cities. Cargo ships wouldn't dock, let alone unload. Billions were on the verge of starvation.
Oh, look at that. Oh, a shrinking population. All because of us. All because of climate change.
I saw hundreds of people die every day. I was immune, one of the lucky ones. It was hard to feel anything. There was too much to feel.
You think about the effect that this kind of disaster would have. Everybody's depressed. What do you do with all the bodies? Are people just gonna, take their loved ones to the local park and leave them there?
At that point, cities will be unbearable.
You could see it on people's faces on the street. They had given up. As more and more people died, all services broke down.
Let's just stop it right there, because this is talking about a mass extinction event. But again, are there parallels? I can't say. We're on YouTube right now. There are certain things we will not talk about here. But we will talk about is Jeffrey Sachs and what he says on the other side. But here's a great example of Jeffrey Sachs dropping truth bombs. And now he's, again, Xi Jinping's propagandist way back in the day on Morning Joe.
And this is very different than just a war between two countries. This is as convoluted as it gets and could get out of control. I don't think people might really conceptualize, maybe even not this president, how out of control this could escalate.
It's true, but I think we have to step back and not put this in partisan terms. This is a U.S. mistake that started 7 years ago. And I remember the day on your show when President Obama said, Assad must go. And I looked at you and Joe and I said, huh? How's he going to do that? Where's the policy for that?
Right.
And we know they sent in the CIA to overthrow Assad.
And remember, Putin talking about CIA involvement in the Ukraine, and you already have unofficial military-industrial complex forces on the ground, according to Michael Tracy, directing it. And it's coming out now in the mainstream media. Okay? We've actually reported on it here. You're not going to see that not only in your left-wing media or your right-wing media. You're not seeing it much in the alternative media either.
The CIA and Saudi Arabia together in covert operations tried to overthrow Assad. It was a disaster. Eventually, it brought in both ISIS as a splinter group to the jihadists that went in. It also brought in Russia. So we have been digging deeper and deeper and deeper. What we should do now is get out and not continue to throw.
And let's not forget that when Trump started saying this, within a week, you had the supposed chemical attack in Duma. Props to OAN for sending Pearson Sharp out there, debunked it on the spot, and then, what? They had their OPCW report that they tried to really just whitewash what their investigators had seen. It leaks via WikiLeaks, and no one talks about that either.
Not have a confrontation with Russia. 7 years has been a disaster under Obama, continuing under Trump. This is what I would call the permanent state. This is the CIA, this is Pentagon, wanting to keep Iran and Russia out of Syria, but no way to do that. And so we have made a proxy war in Syria. It's killed 500,000 people, displaced 10 million, and I'll say predictably so, because I predicted it 7 years ago that there was no way to do this.
Obviously, this guy is a big-time Xi Jinping propagandist. So listen, YouTube, we're going to stop it there. I want you to thumbs up. We don't even have 100 thumbs up on YouTube. If you want to see the other side of the story, not the leak, right? Not the leak ski and hutch, not the animals, not the climate change Johnny nonsense. If you want to see what Mr. Sachs, I mean, he entertains the idea. He doesn't go far enough, but the Tuckster should know better by now. If you're going to have a piece called "This may have been the greatest crime in history," and you are going to cut off the most important last 5 minutes of this thing, I don't know what to tell you. I don't like it. If you want to support the broadcast, again, we're demonetized on YouTube, obviously. Buy me a coffee. The links are down below. We're going to continue this broadcast over at Rumble and on the Rockfin. We also have the audio format of these things, as well as video casts over on Podbean, but that'll be coming up later in the day. So if you want to join the live stream right now, get over almost 60,000 strong on the Rockfin, come take part in that. And remember that all my documentary films are free. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to Find, and Shade the Motion Picture. So guess what? YouTube, arrivederci.